Hey everybody, welcome to CSquad Racing Show. We discuss cool stuff around racing, and tonight's show is sponsored by Cheyenne Speedway and the Battle at the Boneyard, along with Weir's Machine and Redheaded Rebel Brew. We're going to, tonight's guest is South Dakota racing legend, aka the Dirt Doctor, Lorin Johnson from Miller, South Dakota, who I think, we're going to find out for sure, but I think he's driven about everything you possibly could drive on dirt, from a late model to a modified, probably a super street. I don't know. We're going to find out. But while people are spooling up, hi Brian, good evening to you. While people are spooling up, I'm going to do my normal, what I've been up to. Everybody, can you hear me fine? For those who are listening. Hey Chris. Hey Chris, lots of Chris, thumbs up from Chris. Okay, cool. So my racing update, which is really insignificant, it's mainly about, hey Brandon, hi to you too, and Shane, to let people spool up, and then we'll get Lorin here, who I'm excited for this interview. But went to the Stock Car Stampede, the 47th annual. I started 6th in the heat. It was like a really stacked heat. You had Preston Carr, who would go on to win the Stampede in it. You had the 87 in there, I believe. You had Dustin Strand, you had Lance Schill, you had me, you had Joey, you had a bunch of fast cars. Somehow wound up third after I did kind of a slider on Dustin after he passed me, which was kind of cool to pass your chassis builder back. And then there's like 300 cars, lots of fun. There's bands, there was a Calcutta where drivers were auctioned off, and those proceeds went to the Ann Carlson Center, a charity, and then some of it went to the driver who won, as well as the person who bid on them. Anyway, you'll have to come next year if you want to know how that works, because I can't tell you exactly. Anyway, so in the feature, we started 11th. We threw out the anchor and rode the ditch to, I don't know, I didn't even look. I was so disappointed in my results, but yay to Preston Carr. He won again. He's the big North Dakota show winner. He won the big show in Devil's Lake for big money, and now he showed up in Jamestown and won the Stampede, so props to Preston. I went to Watertown, oh wow, subscribers are growing. Hey Matt Gilbertson, enjoyed watching you race in Watertown too. Watertown, we went from 5th to 6th in the heat. We were kind of battling or trying to get into 3rd, and went in high into 3 and 4 and went way up high and come out of that deal in 6th. So we're going to start 18th in the feature. The track was looking really good. It kind of started to slick off where there's a little traction at the bottom, a little traction at the top. Looked like it was going to be perfect. We lined up, car died, kept dying. Finally got out there, the car was still dying. I thought it's too small of a track to have your car shut off while you're racing, so we got pushed in. Come to find out, it was the fuel pump. The fuel pump inside that little lever that goes, well, that thing exploded, and the rod that goes into the engine got smashed. So it was a long drive for 8 laps. But anyway, I'm glad it wasn't anything more serious than a fuel pump. So, and a side note, we did discover there's a little bit of sand, because we thought maybe it was the flap on the fuel cell that fell in and blocked the fuel. But we did discover there's a little sand or a little dirt in my fuel cell, so we're cleaning that too. National Point Thoughts, Skeeter, Esty is still badass, and Tony Knoll is on the move. I think he won twice this weekend, so it's kind of a tight race for, well, the winners picked. Skeeter Esty, congrats Skeeter. Then you have Austin and Hunter and Lance Schill, who are right there battling for 2nd. And then you have Lorin Johnson, Dan Wheeler, and myself, and maybe Tony Knoll now battling for 4th, although I'm probably the only one battling. They're just racing. Anyway, noteworthy story, my little rebel rant, and then we'll get Lorin on here. Wow, hey, Hey, Gary. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions for Lorin, please type them now, and I'll ask them once we get them on here in a second. But my one rebel rant is, if you're running the ditch and you sweep her up to the high side, leave a lane for the high side. Because if you put someone in the wall on the front or back stretch, if you're racing a wall track, and you go on to win, you will feel bad. When I was about my 4th year of racing, I was at Fergus. I was leading the race. Travis Sauer was hot on my tail. I was working the ditch. He was on the high side, and I didn't leave him enough lane against the backstretch wall. And we came together a little bit, and thank goodness he lifted a little and didn't roll me backwards on the backstretch. And we gathered it up, and I went on to win. But I tell you, out of my almost 100 wins, it's the only one I feel bad about. The rest of them, I didn't put someone into the wall. So not that, just if you have someone fast, or if you're, leave a lane, you'll probably enjoy the win better. And you can't win if you don't finish. So, and you might not finish if you don't leave a lane. So anyway, that's my rebel rant. And not that I know any better and haven't done the same thing myself, but like to think I have a little bit more awareness not to. So with that, Lorin Johnson's our guest. Hey, Lorin, thanks for joining us. You there, Lorin?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, thanks for coming on the CSquad show. Tell us, for people who for people who don't know you, I'm getting a weird
A little staticky on your end.
Okay, it's staticky on my end. All right. That's weird. It sounds like a tin can or something. So you're from Miller, South Dakota. How long have you been racing?
35 years.
30? Wow. And what classes all have you raced?
I started out in the street stock class, moved up to the sportsman class, which eventually was morphed into the super stock class. Raced the Midwest, or the Wasota modified, Wasota late model, and then eventually the Wasota Midwest mod. They had a open wheel modified class at my hometown track in Miller for a couple of years, and I got to drive one of them a couple of times. And then my dad actually had a vintage open wheel modified, and I got to drive that a couple of times, and that was a hoot. Them old boys that raced them back in the day were real men, I'll guarantee you.
So 3 generations of racing then? Your dad raced?
Yeah, my dad started racing in 1958, and he has either raced or fielded a car or been a track promoter for the last 60 years. And he goes with me to every race. Most everybody that races anywhere that we do, they know my dad. He's always there, and he's kind of like Dan Wheeler's Teresa. He's always working and always getting stuff done.
Oh, that's awesome. And you have 2 sons that race now, Lane and Luke. Lane's 21, races a Midwest mod like you.
Yep.
And then Luke is racing a street stock, and he's 14.
14, yep.
And he had... Oh, go ahead.
He started last year in the pier stock class in Miller and actually won 3 races. So
oh, that's awesome.
the best he did this year was 3rd, but he did good. He did really good.
So what's it like to watch your kids race? Are you nervous? Excited? Are you the coach? How's that work?
I was nervous when Lane first started racing. We were in the same class, and I always wondered where he was, what was happening. If a yellow came out or a red, I always assumed he was probably in it. But no, it don't bother me so bad. I'm pretty used to it. I enjoy watching them, enjoy helping them.
That's awesome. Out of all the cars you've raced, what was your favorite? Like, was there...
The old Wasota modifieds, when you didn't have all the suspension and the shocks, those were a hoot to drive, and you could travel anywhere and drive them, and we had a lot of fun. I would say through those years was probably the funnest.
Is that like when they had leaf springs and all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, leaf springs and the stock rear suspension type deal.
Oh yeah, that's cool. What do you have any pre-race rituals that you do before you jump in the car?
Not really. Probably do, but nothing's coming to mind.
Okay. How many wins do you have? Do you keep track of that, or you just race?
Butch Nouse keeps track of everybody in South Dakota, and my sons have kind of kept track after that, and they're telling me I have 330 wins.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So that's quite the career. So have you won in like all the classes you've raced?
I have, actually. Yeah, that's cool too.
So how do you stay competitive?
Ask a lot of advice, listen to the advice, and, a lot of work at the shop. If you're not doing your maintenance and your work at the shop, you're not going to be successful at the track. It all starts there.
Okay. Have you raced a few different sanctioning bodies then over the years? Or mainly? Go ahead.
Raced, back when I first started, there wasn't a sanctioning. There was Watertown had their rules, Huron had their rules, and Miller had their rules, and you might have to change a tire or something to go race at one track or the other. And then when Wasota came in, it changed all that, and the car counts grew, the crowds grew, and we've been south of Florida a couple of times, and this and that, race some IMCA stuff, but that's about it. Just that's the local stuff.
What's your favorite racetrack out of all the racetracks you've been?
I gotta say Dakota State Fair Speedway in Huron. I've raced there more than anywhere, and that place is a perfect fit for me. I really love the joint. I hope it comes back.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors that someone might try to get her going again. I thought it was when they had their last show this year. I thought it was apropos that you won it for the Midwest Mod, since you're probably one of the most winning drivers there over the years.
What was that?
I said the last show they had in Huron this year, I thought it was very apropos that you won that last race under Orville, just because you've won there so much and it's kind of your track, your territory.
We had that one circled on the schedule. We put a lot of emphasis into that one. We wanted that one bad.
Yeah. So anything you've seen over the years that tracks have done that you think more tracks should do, for whether it's for fans or for drivers? Anything you thought that was kind of cool?
I really like the driver getting the trophy after the race. I think that's really cool for the fans, especially if they bring second place up there too. This gives the fans a chance to see them. One thing that Casino Speedway started doing this year, or maybe they've done it in the past too, but I've noticed it this year, is they give out a hard charger award.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't got one of those, but man, that would be cool to get one. I think that's a cool deal. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I always like it when they kind of give the hard charger a little juice for that. Kind of, NASCAR's motto is everybody's got to win. Fans got to win, drivers got to win, teams got to win, tracks got to win. And I think, obviously not everybody can win in racing, but with a few of the things, with the winner and the hard charger, and I always thought the watermelon and Miller was kind of a cool Cool thing to bring home. I got a couple of those over the years, so.
Yeah, that's cool. My boys always liked the watermelon.
Yeah, I heard, well, see, this is what I heard someone like the second place guy one time threw the watermelon at the winner, so they banned it. But see, that's where I don't think you should make policy changes based on the exception, you know. So bring the watermelon back.
I can get them talked into that.
What kind of chassis do you and your sons race? Are they the same? They different?
Mine's a fast track built by Eric Martini in Avon, Minnesota. My son's is a GRT by CRC, and Lane's is. And Luke's is a Race Star street stock.
Okay, so you get them. Do you guys get them as rollers and then put them together and put the bodies on and all that?
We don't really get them as rollers. We get them chassis, and then we put them basically together ourselves. Lanes we bought used, and so it was a roller.
But most of the time you're putting the rear end in and all of that stuff.
Yeah, we even if we buy it as a roller, we tear it all apart and go through everything and put it back together. So we're familiar with how things are.
Okay. How's your season been going this year?
We've had an awesome year, really. We ran good at just about every track we've been to. We're not all Travis Sowers, so we're not up there at the top of our game every night. But we've been in there. We've been doing good.
So you've been racing like Casino, Miller Speedway, Aberdeen, Wishick.
County, Wishick, yep. Them are the tracks that we've raced.
Okay.
We went to Madison a couple of times, Madison, Minnesota.
Okay. Cool. What are 3 tips that you would give a new driver that was just starting racing?
Listen to advice that other racers give you. Watch on the track. See where other drivers are running. See how they might set up for a pass, and kind of concentrate on that. And remember that you're not probably going to win right away. You got to pay your dues. It takes some seat time. Concentrate on passing that car ahead of you. When you get him passed, pass the next one. Sometimes the victory, even for you and I, Scott, is racing side by side for 20 laps for 14th, man, but having fun while we're doing it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of them side by side races are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What driver do you like to race side by side with the most? Any particular driver that stands out that you say, boy, we've had some really good races?
There's been a lot of them over the years. This year, DJ Tesh in Watertown and I had several great battles side by side. Tony Knowles, who you talked about earlier, we've had some great side by side battles. Just a lot of people. When there's respect both ways, and guys are leaving you a lane to run the high side, if you're up there and they're running the bottom, it puts on a good show, and boy, it really gets your adrenaline pumped up there, and it's a lot of fun.
I know what you mean. Those side by side, back and forth battles, or even when a couple of people charge to the front. That's always fun too. The quick sponsor announcement, but the Battle of the Boneyard, for those listening, is coming up Sunday. It starts at 3 p.m. in Cheyenne Speedway. They're racing Wissota Street Stocks, Midwest Mods, and Super Stocks, and also IMCA Modifieds and Cheyenne Speedway Hobbies in Mini Stocks. And starts at 3 p.m. It's their end of the season special. That track's been doing some amazing things this year, so check it out. back to Lorin. Anyone out there listening have any questions for Lorin? Type them in there now, and I'll ask them in a second. Couple of quick this or that questions. Do you like slick or hammer down?
Definitely slick.
Slick. How about do you like lining up by passing points or by point average?
Oh, I think passing points would be the way to go.
Bull ring or half mile?
Half mile all the way.
Ditch or high side?
I'd probably race the ditch more, but I love the thrill of the high side too. So.
Question for you, Lorin. Are you coming to Lisbon?
I hurt my knee, and my wife kind of has me on injured reserve right now. I tried pulling the Brett Favre deal and racing it on Saturday, and it didn't work so good. And so if we're healed up, we might try it. If not, go get them. Have fun.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I wish you a speedy recovery with that knee. What's your most wanted win?
I would really love to win the Wissota 100 in the Midwest Mod class. Well, it's a tough one to get. We've tried over the years, but that one would be definitely a jewel.
Are you got a question? Are you going to the Town Showdown? I'm guessing the knee answer applies to that too.
Yeah,
depends on the knee.
If I'm mobile, we're gonna be there. If I'm not, I might go watch for sure, but I might not be racing.
Any tips for a guy like me who's raced there? I think once. If I go.
If you start behind Cody Lee, follow him. 'Cause he's at the front.
All right, I'll remember that if we get over there. Any drivers out there that up and coming drivers that you'd like to give a shout out to that you've seen improve?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of them actually that raced in Miller. Corey Berquist out of Huron. He kind of just getting into the racing deal. He was a go-kart guy, and but man, he's won 3 or 4 or 5 in Miller, and probably should have won the track championship there. Had some troubles the final night, which knocked him out of it, and gave it to me. But he really deserved it. There's can't think of the names right now, but yeah, there's a lot of good young drivers that are coming in right now and making us old guys look bad, but I enjoy it.
How about with safety rules? Do you think the safety rules are keeping up with today's racing?
I think they're pretty good. We race at tracks that Dean Shauneman's a tech guy, and he goes through the seat belts and the safety stuff before you can even go on the track the first night out, and keeps up on that. I've been on the unfortunate side of being in a race car accident and got burnt and went through that whole stint. So our safety program for me and the boys is pretty high, and we like to keep it that way. And I tell everybody that's going to race, don't miss out on the safety stuff. That's important, very important.
Yeah, and I think too, talking to someone like you or a good tech can help with that too, because sometimes if you're new at racing, you don't necessarily know if your welds or how things are done, particularly if you're running a pure stock or mini stock or some of the more home-built race cars. might need a little modernization.
Yeah, those classes and beginner classes need checked really good. That's very important.
What any rules you'd like to see? Like, what's your thoughts on? You hear a lot of people talking about carbon fiber drive shafts, or the other argument is, well, why don't you have the cheaper routes, 2 or 3 drive shaft hoops, like the off-road trucks? What's your take on it?
I think the carbon fiber drive shaft would be a really wise choice, safety-wise for anybody. Yeah, there's an expense there, but it's not a speed secret or anything like that. We were at Huron a few years ago in a late model 8, a steel drive shaft, and broke his elbow and messed him up pretty bad. And we've all had unfortunate set of gears go bad and shoot the drive shaft out the back. Luckily, I've never been hit, but I've sure seen the carnage that it's created. So anything they could do around that drive shaft would be well worth it.
Hey, yeah, Rory, I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Yeah, I think I have some feedback on the mic that's echoing through Lorin's mic. We'll get better at this. Please realize, folks listening, that this is not ESPN. This is SBR CSquad show, and we'll get better as we go. The cup is noise, is what Rory Opp is telling me. Hey, Jared Carter, thanks for joining us. When stuff goes sideways in racing, that it does, we all get disappointed. What do you do to keep your spirits up? How do you keep digging?
Sometimes it gets difficult. All racers, I think, wear their emotions on their sleeve. We want to do good, and we want to be at the top of our game. We can't always be. Sometimes for me, I go sit in the pickup and maybe pout a little bit, is what my sons call it. But get together and come back out and keep on trucking. Dan Wheeler in Watertown this weekend, he has such a great attitude. Love that guy. But he drew 98 out of 100, started dead last in his heat on Saturday, drove up, made it into the very tail end of the A main, started, 19th or something, drove all the way to 5th. He's all smiles and happy the whole night. He's just glad to be out there racing, and I think if all of us could take a look at that and emulate that a little bit, it'd go a long ways. But yeah, that's cool.
Oh, wow. Teresa Wheeler, or Teresa Duda / Dan Wheeler just joined us, so they must have heard you talking about him. Anything you'd like to share with fans or other racers about yourself or your family that people may not know that might be interested? Like me, like some people know that I wrote a book, right? That's not your normal thing that a racer does, but anything about you that you'd like people to know about?
Well, our pastime is racing. We don't hunt, we don't fish, we don't do any of that stuff. We love to go racing, and we've always done it as a family. For most of the years, my dad and I built the cars, he built the motors, and he's always tuned on the motor side of it, and I've learned the chassis side of it. But we're just normal guys. We work during the week and race because it's so much fun on the weekend, and we love fan interaction, good or bad. There's always the booze and whatnot, but I don't mind it. Mm-hmm. I think it's cool. But there's nothing better than a 5-year-old kid hanging on the fence, cheering for you when you're getting the trophy. That hits you hard. I love that.
Yeah, no doubt. Does your race team have race gear or shirts or hoodies or anything like that?
My son does, Lane.
Lane?
Me, not so much. I really haven't had shirts or anything for quite a while. I'm too old. Nobody wants my stuff anymore.
I don't know about that. I might wear a Dirt Doctor shirt. But if they do, they can ping them on Facebook if they want to get a shirt or a hoodie from them.
Yep.
For Lorin Johnson from South Dakota. Very, very cool. Who helps you, helps keep the racing team going? Anyone you'd like to thank?
My whole family does. My dad does most of it. Our main sponsors are Wilbur Ellis and Decal Horn and M&K Farms, Weasler Trucking. We couldn't do it without all of those sponsors, but those are the main guys that help us out. And Matt Moeller from M&K Farms comes with us to the races all the time and helps out. You know, you just need all of the support and all of the help that you can get.
And then a couple of things on, I forgot to ask you, on national points. Last year you were the runner-up for national points, right? You've kind of been in the top 10 for as long as I've been racing. What?
Yeah, you know, we're kind of local racers. We don't venture out too far. Occasionally we venture into Minnesota and race. The Monday morning thing kind of limits what we can do. But last year we actually raced hard in a lot of places. Nobody can touch Skeeter. The guy is phenomenal. We gave it a good shot, but man, we didn't come close. Had fun, but we don't really race to be in the national points. But at the end of the year, it's kind of cool. You know, me, you, and Dan, we're all three buddies, and we're, you know, right there together. It's kind of cool, and we sit by each other and we enjoy each other's, you know, camaraderie at the track. And I was actually asking Dan for some setup advice on Saturday. You know, he's an open book, you're an open book, I'm an open book. That's what it's all about, just having fun.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's pretty cool. I know, I just mentioned that only because you're one of my heroes in racing. You're like Mr. Consistent. Like if I would give you a nickname, it'd be Mr. Consistent, because someone like me who is officially running for national points, I'm also out racing you. So even though we're close right now in points, the reality is I got 20 more shows in where you're just really consistent, which I think is some would say they should redo the points more so you can't be outraced. Obviously, Skeeter's not being outraced, but you gotta play the game as it is. But kudos to you for being very consistent. And but I'm guessing you're consistent because you finish races.
Yeah, like I said earlier, that all starts in the shop during the week. You gotta make sure your stuff is right, and you're not gonna have failures there. The old saying that they used to say was, to finish first you must finish, and that's a true statement. If you're in the hunt, you always got a chance.
Yeah, no doubt. So to mention two sponsors before we sign off is Weir's Machine. Do you use any Weir's Machine parts on your race cars?
We do. We get our Weir's Machine stuff through Dirt Track Supply, Ron Anderson at Watertown there. That's where I get all of my parts through him, actually. But yeah, we use a lot of weird stuff. His cages are on the rear end, his spring pockets, them things are cool. So yep, they do a great job.
And then last night you had a cup of Red-Headed Rebel brew coffee. What did you think of it?
That was great. Actually, you gave me a handful of those at Wishick earlier in the year, and I kind of had to fight Lane for him because he wanted all of those. That stuff is awesome. The RHR brew, get some. You'll like it.
Oh, yeah. Any winter racing plans or just shop maintenance?
Yeah, we're just gonna, you know, run the same cars next year, go through everything prepped, talk with Chubbs, he's been doing our motors lately and make sure everything's up to snuff there, and look forward to next year. That's our plan.
Awesome. Well, hey, Lorin, thanks for joining the CSquad show. For those listening, we'll get better as we go. I apologize for the background noise. We'll get better as we go. CSquad Racing shirts, you can get them at scottbintzracing.com/gear. And this show will be loaded up as a podcast too tomorrow. So if you're a podcast listener, pass it on to your friends, share it out, and comment any suggestions for improvement. And next Tuesday, we're gonna do CSquad on Tuesdays since the football season, 7:30 on Tuesday nights. We're gonna have another kick-ass guest like Lorin Johnson. And thanks for joining us. And until next time, smile.